Alrighty, folks, there is a video by Robuilt that you need to watch featuring David Green and, of course, Rob Abasola. The title of the video is Why We Got Fired from Bigger Pockets. They're going to spill the tea, our unfiltered story. So, again, check that out. It is on Robuilt and the David Green Show. But the reason I want to talk to Coach Carson today is about the 20-minute mark. Both David Green and Rob basically say that the winner of today's environment is going to be the small and mighty investor. Coach Carson, Chad Carson, was called out by name as the winner, as the person to follow in today's environment. Now, of course, David Green and Rob had some heated words for the Bigger Pockets team, but yes, they were very complimentary, Chad, to what you were doing. So congratulations for the shout out.
Wow, it's a surprise, and I appreciate David and Rob saying that. And they really should have said the one rental at a time and small and mighty investor community, because we're all one and the same here. We got a lot of crossover, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. But no, it was really fun for me. I was actually doing a workout when I saw it. I had to stop it, play it back, and send it to you. But yeah, it was really interesting video to watch, because again, David Green and Rob were both fired from Bigger Pockets. They talked about kind of why private equity, they were expensive talent, but they also went on to talk about just how uncomfortable working for BP was. And I thought the biggest stat for me was, apparently when Rob and David Green were really killing it on Bigger Pockets, it was them two and one editor. And by the time it got to the end of the cycle, there were more editors than Rob and David. It's like who's driving the boat? And that's just not the way to do it. You've got to let the talent do the talent thing. And, again, hearing David Green talk about all the restrictions that were put on him about what he could and couldn't say, it's like that could not have been fun for either of them. So I felt bad for David and Rob.
Yeah, it's a media company. And I really don't. Everything would be speculation on my part to know exactly what's going on. I've got good relationships with people at Bigger Pockets, and I also say, I love having creative control over everything I do. That's one of the reasons I've always just stayed on my own. I think you and I resonate with that we're not doing this because we want to get rich. We have a business behind it. We're doing this because we care about it. We have a mission, and we just love teaching and love sharing. And so ultimately, I want to say what I want to say when I want to say it, to teach how I want to say it. So even the best of corporations in the world give me, the chills, because I can't go in that box. I'm not. Yeah. I've never worked for a corporation my entire life. The closest I ever got to being in there was being on a football team where they made me go to meetings. Yeah. When I was done with college, I'm like, I am never, ever going back to anybody making me to go to any kind of meeting. So I crave autonomy and control over my day more than I control money, more than I crave money. That money's cool if it gives me flexibility, autonomy. So that's what when I hear that, that's the story I hear, is that I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff going on there, but big corporation, there's some benefits to being a big media company, which is what Bigger Pockets has become. There's also some benefits to being one rental at a time, Michael Zuber, the Coach Carson channel, where we can kind of have, we have a very close connection with our audience, where it's just us, our audience, and any people who work with us are just supporting our effort to connect with that audience. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And again, I think you're absolutely right. When I watched Rob and David's conversation, I felt bad for both of them, because I think they both wanted to do the right things, and they just kept getting more ropes and stuff thrown on them to kind of control, quote unquote, control them. And again, Bigger Pockets has an image, and they have a CEO, and they have a board, and they have private equity, and they're going to call a direction. So, I mean, I get both sides, but when I watched that video, I left it feeling bad for Rob and David, because to me, it felt like they got the short end of the stick. They were identified as, probably expensive line items on the income statement, right? Expenses. And they're like, okay, let's go a different direction. But let's talk about the small and mighty, because I think both David and Rob are right. When you look at the environment today, it's hard. And, they both talked about, hey, Burr had its time in the sun, Sub 2 had its time in the sun. But today it's the small and mighty investor. It's the simple blocking and tackling. It's getting to 4, like you write in your book. And, it's just continuing to do the work and believe. So keep it up.
Yeah, I think the old becomes new again, right? It's funny because
cycles.
A lot of the things you and I teach, one rental at a time. One of my mentors, John Shaw, wrote a book in the late 1980s or late
80s, I think.
1990s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
called Building Wealth One House at a Time, which is a
Mhm.
great idea. There's people who've talked about, doing this on the side for many years. So I think the only point of disagreement I would have, the little clip I heard of them talking about small and mighty is not a trend. This is
Mhm.
it's reverting back to the mean. This is like this wasn't a new thing. Like this is something in the 70s, the 80s. In fact, I have fun talking to like people who are in their 80s or 90s who say, yeah,
Me too.
back when we lived in St. Louis and in 1920s and 30s, and we had an up and down duplex, and we lived in the
Yeah.
top and rented out rooms to people during the Great Depression. I was like, oh, house hacking? Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah, what'd you guys call it then? Surviving?
survive. Yeah, like basic common sense. You can't live in
Yeah,
a whole house because you can't afford it. So I think part of this, like even
that's
today,
funny.
people are like, you can't buy your own home and live in a 2,000 square foot house. And I'm not belittling like the affordability crisis, but like welcome to the 1920s, welcome to the
Yeah.
1930s. Like, I mean, the fact that everybody could buy their own house and live in it by themselves and afford it with a single income was like, it's kind of an anomaly in the 1950s and 60s. GIs
Mhm.
returning from the war. Like
Right.
we're kind of, it's if you I love studying history because you see the rhythms and you see the patterns, and there's definitely some new things today. But the real estate game hasn't changed a lot. It's, you look at the income, you make sure you can pay your bills. the
Yeah.
you know 30-year mortgages are a new thing since the 1940s and 50s if you study
Mhm.
history. But
Yep.
people used to have to get 5 and 10-year loans from
Yeah.
the bank and put 50% down or 60% down, and that's still what people do if you go to Ecuador, other
Yeah.
places in South America. Like, interest rates are 14%, and you have to put 50% down and get a 5-year loan with an amortization over 5 years. Like, that's the reality in a lot of the world, and people still buy real estate. Go
Yeah.
go figure, go figure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kind of leading off to that, I do think David and Rob were both saying that kind of small and mighty always work, which is
Yeah,
really the point here, right?
true.
I've studied real estate all the way back to the 70s in details, and it's always worked. But it does, there are things that get hot,
That's true.
and frankly, when things get hot, I get nervous.
Mm,
Right when Burr gets hot, or Airbnb or short-term rentals get hot, or syndications get hot, and these things get hot, and then they spin up in this like vortex,
yeah,
and it just sucks all the dumb money, the lazy money off the sidelines. Because that's the one of the thing about small and mighty and one rental at a time is we never stop saying do the work.
yeah.
And there are unethical coaches or investors that'll just say, give me your money, I'll take care of you. And it's like I hate giving people permission not to do the work, right? That's just
Right.
an anchor or a tenet of my belief.
Yeah, because you're a fundamentals person where this is a little, I'm gonna go off on a little tirade here a little bit, is like the niches that people talk about, like the Burr strategy and the subject to and all that. To me, those are like a carpenter who has a toolbox, and he or she has a bunch of tools in the toolbox.
Hmm.
That is what Burr strategy and house hacking and all that. Those are just like tools in a toolbox. And
Yep.
the carpenter who goes to build the house, like building the house is the thing that is always there. And
Correct.
you got to do the work to build the house. Like it doesn't matter what tool you have, you still have to get the tool out. You got to use the hammer, you got to use the saw. And so I think what you and I really resonate with is like, and this is the reason my community is called Rental Property Mastery, is that you have to master the craft of doing whatever you do, whether you're a doctor,
Hmm.
a janitor, a teacher, a real estate investor. Like, there's no shortcut. Like, you got to learn to use the tool when the time is right. And if you just put your entire strategy as if the tool is the strategy, then you're going to burn every 3 to 4 years. It's going to change, and you're going to be like, "Well, what do I do now? What do I do now?" Like,
All I
instead of
got's a
saying,
hammer. What
"All I
happens?
got the hammer. Yeah, there's no more nails. What do I do now?" Like, that's the equivalent of saying the Burr strategy is the best thing since sliced bread. When really
Mm.
what we should do is that we should be very interested in learning the tools. No doubt about it. I think that's
Of
awesome to
course.
learn the tools.
Yes.
But go and like what your book is, for example, is here is an overall strategy on how to get wealthy, on how to have the
Yep.
mindset to build wealth, on how to do the work. And then you can bring those tools into that overall strategy as opposed to saying the strategy is the best thing since sliced bread. I think it's a different mindset that you bring to it, and hopefully I bring to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. Because again, the anchor belief for me is you should not be writing a single offer until you have done the work to understand what an average deal is.
Yeah,
And again, I'm not telling you to do an average deal. I'm telling you do the work enough to learn average, and then you write good or great deals.
yeah,
Right? It's kind of that step function. And all of these people want to rush to writing deals. I'm like, that's just gambling. You might win, you might lose, right? Red or black. Sometimes it's green.
Right.
And it just infuriates me that people want to rush to investing without doing the work. Because you're right. If you're going to be a carpenter and build a house, you got to know, what it takes to build a house, and you got to do the work.
You gotta learn how to hammer the nail on the side here before you put it on the
Yeah.
house, right?
Yeah.
Or if you wanna run a marathon, you gotta, like, run 100 yards. Like,
Yeah.
you get
Got to
learn
start
learn
somewhere. Yeah.
you gotta do the first things first. I think that's part of it's just the information's there, you can learn everything you want, but we're still like toddlers learning to walk when we start something new, and so you gotta build up to it. You gotta build that base, that foundation, and that
Mhm.
what I hope, Michael, is I hope this resonates with people because they kind of recognize that everything else I've learned in my life, there were not shortcuts either, and there were
Correct.
tools. And so when they listen to you and they listen to me, what I hope at our best is that they're like, oh, that's refreshing. Like, yeah, that's how things work. That's how I learned to speak a language. That's how I learned to do my job as an engineer. Like, oh yeah, that's the reality. And the old, like, those flashy thumbnails and all that stuff that promises all that stuff, that'll get you to click pretty quickly, but it's not going to
Yeah.
stick. Like, it's not going to, like, feed you in your career as a real estate investor. And so that's I think you're playing the long game. I'm trying to play the
Oh
long
yeah.
game where people come back around to the stuff that is kind of common sense and makes sense.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there is no easy button to this, right? There's no easy button, get rich quick thing. That's not what real estate is. Real estate is proven to make more people millionaires than any other asset, but it takes work, takes time, takes discipline. You can't bust out. Don't do short-term debt, right? It's always the debt
Yeah.
that blows up. There's just some tried and true principles that
Yeah.
I think are small and mighty, and in one rental at a time. And it makes me feel good and smile when you have folks like David Green and Rob Abasola who are in the machine kind of say, coach, you're doing it the right way. Keep it up. That's just got to
Yeah.
feel good.
It does feel good. I respect both of them a lot, and they're excellent teachers. They do great work. Both of their books, David's books and Rob's YouTube channel. I'm always texting Rob for advice on YouTube, and he's super creative. He's like a
Yeah.
very, very smart business person, has multiple businesses. So yeah, I respect the fact that they say that is definitely is a big compliment, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, coach, you're doing amazing stuff. You are changing lives and generations. Where can people find you and follow you?
Coach Carson, anywhere you look, YouTube's my main home base online, and I have a new episode that comes out every Monday and Friday these days. So I have an extra Friday episode called my
Nice.
coaches corner. It's kind of me just ripping more informally, trying to channel my inner Michael Zuber, where I can just press
Just
play,
riff.
press record, go. And do it, and one of these days maybe I can get to your level, Michael. But
Oh, come on. You're
you're
already there.
you're still up there, man. You produce amazing work.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Have a great week.
All right, thanks, Michael.